Which brings us to the summit itself. And if you know Dubai, you know they go the extra mile. The city has a thing for records. They have the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa, the world's biggest shopping mall, the Dubai Mall, and now they're hosting the biggest COP summit in history. So let's look at this event purely through numbers. "190 nations are participating, 70,000 delegates are expected to attend, including 140 world leaders. So COP28 is breaking some records, good and bad. Yes, this is the biggest COP summit in history, but the carbon footprint is also massive. Even if all delegates fly commercial, they'll account for 210,000 tons of carbon dioxide. Plus, there are private jets. World leaders and some corporate bigwigs use their own jets, which means even more emissions. So travel alone could account for 80% of the conference's emissions. The United Nations is calling COP28 a reality check. The focus is on one figure, 1.5 degrees Celsius. The threshold set in Paris prevent the Earth from heating by 1.5 degrees Celsius. But progress has been abysmal. The world has already warmed by 1.3 degrees Celsius. We could hit 1.5 in the next 6 years. So the world needs urgent action. Climate change is already bleeding the economy. Global losses stand at $4.3 trillion. 4.3 trillion, and this is a moderate estimate. So think of climate action as investment and not expenditure. How much do we need? $300 billion according to the United Nations, $300 billion by 2030. That's what we need to tackle climate change. By 2050, this bill could rise to $500 billion, which brings us to something called a damage and loss fund. Climate change was driven by rich countries, the historical emitters. They must pay for the damage and loss. How much? $100 billion a year. But they're not paying. As of last month, they'd paid less than $10 billion. Less than 10% of the $100 billion they promised. Yesterday, COP28 adopted this damage fund. Rich countries pledged millions to help poor nations. The UAE pledged $100 million, as did Germany. The UK pledged around $60 million. The United States committed $17.5 million to the fund. For perspective, this is the same America that has spent more than $50 billion on the Ukraine war. But $17.5 million for climate action. And this is also the world's biggest polluter. And these are just pledges as of now. We'll have to see how many of them walk the talk. The COP28 summit ends on December 12th.